So like right now, we just eat it and we say, do you have a deny? At this point, I think I'm just the king of trying to play really bad or mediocre decks because I like a certain combo or archetype or play style, and today's video is no different. In the past, one of my favorite archetypes to play was Kalista with Gangplank, and I'm going to explain why as we go through the deck list for today. But with the changes in the most recent patch, we actually got a bit of a buff, in my opinion, to Dreadway. I know that it loses some health, but it's also a bit cheaper, and I think that makes it more palatable to play. And so we're going to try the Dreadway Ledros combo as the top end of essentially what used to be my old Kalista Gangplank deck. So we're going to go through the current iteration, talk about the choices, etc. So right out of the gate, we have Dreadway Deckhand. This is essentially here to be an early game body and summon a keg. We're going to see a fair amount of direct damage options, and the kegs enhance them. 3 copies of Glimpse Beyond for card draw and also for helping to trigger our Kalista. A hired gun. This is here because it's again an early game body, and we're just trying to dictate trades early on so that we don't get absolutely overwhelmed. But there's the beginnings of a recurring theme here. So the other reason that this used to be my favorite archetype is that this was a list that would purposefully try to exploit specifically summon effects. So basically almost all the units in this deck, actually I think with the exception of Ledros and Dreadway, because those are the new additions as the top end. So all of your low cost followers all have a summon effect. And the reason for that is because when Kalista levels, when she starts making ephemeral copies when she attacks, you're just always getting some sort of passive benefit. So if, for example, the only thing that has died at that point as a deckhand, well, you're still getting a free keg every time she attacks. Hired gun is going to be granting vulnerable every time she attacks, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm running both of the low-cost pings because both of these essentially lead to creating bodies. When we look at our unit count, it's a little bit low. We're 22 units and 18 spells, but this hopefully will give you a unit. Not always the case. You could get like Pale Cascade or Affliction, things like that, but hopefully this gives you a unit you can play. Vile Feast obviously gives you the Spider, and those are, again, more blockers and more things to help you out with leveling Kalista. So the reason that I like Kalista in a list like this is not only because you're abusing the summon effects, but also there's this neat interaction with Bilgewater and Kalista that I think gets overlooked, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes it works out in your benefit as far as leveling Kalista, and that's that your kegs count as allies. They count as minions, and so when you play a spell and a keg dies, that also goes towards leveling up Kalista. So it's not uncommon, for example, to have like 2 units die, and then if you have a keg on the board and they go to kill Kalista before she levels, you can, you know, play one of your fast spells in response, and then she'll turn around and level. So it's just a neat interaction. And again, a long time ago when I first started this archetype, it was one of the things that drew me in. I loved the idea of using kegs to manipulate Kalista's level up condition. 3 copies of Make It Rain. This is really just to help you against early aggro at the moment. This could potentially be subbed for some other options, but Make It Rain is also a great card to make use of kegs. Zap. So Zap does a bunch of stuff for us. It is a source of card draw. It's a summon effect. So if you get to the point where Kalista is bringing back a Zap, then you're always drawing a card. It also has that attune keyword. So you're getting spell mana when this comes back from a Kalista. It's just a great card in this list. And then we're running copies of Gangplank because he makes kegs, but also wanted to run him because we're running Dreadway. So obviously getting to draw your Gangplanks is nice. And he's just a great, you know, finisher, secondary finisher. I mean, I think right now we're going to be aiming for Dreadway Ledros combos, but the reality is that this is still very much interruptible. Just because it's a little bit easier to pull off because you can do them on curve now doesn't mean that it's going to be any more effective. People know it's coming and they will try to stop you. So having some sort of other finisher in your back pocket like Gangplank is really nice. 2 Grasps and 3 Withering Wails. These are really here for you know, keeping your health afloat. Withering Wail is great against aggro, even more so if you've got the keg, obviously, because then it's like a fast speed avalanche. Grasp is nice because even though it's single target, the drain value gets increased by kegs, and so if you've got 1 or even 2 kegs on the board, this can sometimes mean, you know, healing 5 health. 1 of Atrocity because we're running Ledros, but it's not really like a main game plan, more like a backup. 2 copies of Rekindler. I think in the past I used to run 3, but we don't really want to be playing this until one of our champions has died, but you do want to run Rekindler in this list because that is like your dream for a leveled Kalista. So if you get to the point where a Rekindler has died and you have a leveled Kalista, then every time she attacks, you will hopefully be bringing back Rekindler, and then Rekindler on summon, because it's a summon effect, brings back either a Kalista or a Gangplank for you, and then it just kind of rinses and repeats. Now, I say hopefully because, again, technically in the old version of this list, this was the end of the top end, but now with Dreadway and Ledros, if either one of these have been played and died, then they will overwrite your summoning of Rekindler. Now, in the case of Dreadway, I'm fine with it because, you know, every time Kalista attacks, if you are having a Dreadway on the board, you're doubling damage. So that's a good thing. And that's a nice recurring effect. It's also just a big body on its own. Having the 6 health, for example, means that those who block Kalista are not likely to also turn around and kill Dreadway like with our other units. Ledros is a bit of a different story. You know, you could say, oh, okay, well, the ephemeral one comes back to your hand, but that can be a detriment if the game goes too long. If they just ultra stall, you end up with a handful of just Ledros. But that should never happen. Like, if you get to that point, you're probably already losing anyway. So anyway, this is the list we're piloting today. I got a bunch of decks over the next couple of days that I'm dying to try, and we're gonna go with this one. But I got one more iteration of Jarvan that I wanted to share with you all. Been having a lot of fun with Overwhelm, so I might do another video on that. Last time I touched on that was Croc Week, so on and so forth. So anyway, we're gonna pilot this, so let's jump into those games. Oof. This could actually be a really rough matchup because of all the barriers. Ironically, when I was talking about, you know, having access to another iteration of Jarvan, it was not the Shen one. I do think this is a very reasonable and valid deck, and I'd kind of called that people were going to be doing this because it makes an awful lot of sense, but not excited to see it here because it's a bit of a bad matchup for us. Not only are they likely running Deny to ruin our combo, but taking it a step further, they've got, again, all these barriers which will cancel out our kegs into direct damage plays. I think here we just take the chip damage. We want them to play a unit before we slap down hired gun.
Water changes but never breaks.
And I kind of want to see if we can force them to use like a sharp sight or something here, because otherwise we nuke this, or we get rid of an Opify. Sure, I mean, either way we got him to use it. This is actually kind of a nice pickup here because I was gonna say they're gonna do that and we don't have any other option, so we'll just go ahead and glimpse, and that also denies the card draw, assuming it's successful. Anyway, it's always one of those things where, like, if they really wanted to use a single combat there, they deny our card draw and they still cycle. All right, so we could develop a zap if we really wanted to take advantage of our spell mana somehow, or we could go with a Gangplank, and I'm leaning a bit more towards the Gangplank because I want this keg on the board for next round with Withering Wail and the like. So a number of ways we could do this. We could try to run this over with our Gangplank, but then any sort of buff, specifically I'm worried about like riposte, is problematic, right? So if we do this, they still have to use a buff to keep it alive. Or we could do this and it's the same thing, they have to use a buff to keep it alive. But if they want to block here,
Do I look like a patient man?
it doesn't kill it. I think this is the way we want to go. This probably means they have the riposte either way. Yep. But at least we still get rid of the River Shaper with this exchange.
What form will the waters take?
We also have the backup
We swim within the flows of
Gangplank
magic.
here. Of course, I'm all excited because we get rid of the River Shaper and then they have another one, so. Joke's on me. This actually works out kind of nice because when we play a spell here, so we can go with like Grasp to nuke this, which also denies them with the draw. It's a shame because order of operations means we can't pop this and then have the keg land. So yeah, I think this is the way that we want to go. I'm just trying to think through how I want to handle the rest of this round, but I think this is it. So the keg blows up, River Shaper doesn't draw. I mean, really, that's just what we're trying to do, is keep them from drawing because that means they're less likely to have a deny when we need it. Well, I was gonna just develop a Gangplank this round, but Rekindler feels a bit spicy. We don't mind a Rekindler. That's good value. So we're gonna attempt the feast here. Now they could have another Nopify, but we would like to kill this to again deny the draw. All right, so they kill our Gangplank. But as I've been saying, our real strategy here has just been do our best to deny the draw. We want to get this Dreadway down, but I think the biggest issue right now is that single combat and all that jazz with this Jarvan out
Engulf them.
ends up being really problematic. So I mean, this is very clearly bait, but
From the dark.
I see zero reason why we don't fall for it. Since we're not likely going to play our Dreadway this round, I mean, we kind of wanted to, but so they're just again trying to cycle through. I think this is fine. I don't think there's any way we can really. Right now they're going to be drawing what, 2 cards? If we play the Withering Whale here, that again removes the barrier, so then the single combat goes off. Yeah, let's do the whale. It was that or play the Gangplank this round, but again, I think I just want to try to deny card draw. Okay, that's still only 1 card for them. I mean, they gain more health, but the reality is we just cared about how many cards they draw. All right, we'll play our Dreadway. I fully expect them to try to nuke this, but at this point we kind of just want to make them use it. And if they don't take the immediate nuke, we'll swing with the Spiderling to force their hand. All right, so we at least get rid of the barrier portion here. They're almost halfway through their deck.
2 worlds, 1 balance.
Shen comes down. It's going to be a moderately painful attack here, but with only 1 mana left, we can kill the Shen. Yeah, I think they did the math on that. Backup Dreadway is nice. This is 100% just like a deny check turn, I think. So like right now, we just eat it and we say, do you have a deny? Or something that kills the Dreadway. So they do have something that kills the Dreadway. Unfortunately, nothing we can do about that, but
Ours is but to do.
we get him to 9. Ooh. That worked out really well for them.
To the flag! Who does not know the name Laurent?
Protege is also great for them. Okay, so since we're gonna be at the full 10 here, Rekindler's another great play. We have so many potential routes, but I really want to play second Dreadway to potentially Withering Whale. Because with only 2 cards in hand, this Dreadway further threatens.
Our enemies will know fear.
Okay, so they do the scout thing
And perhaps peace will follow.
with Challenger. So if they have a Cataclysm as their last card here, that's problematic. I think we just do this now. Atrocity's a cheeky backup plan for this Ledros if it fails, but the reality is we just have to survive this attack, and then they don't have the Jarvan now. So it would have to be a concerted strike or deny or something. Because like right now, yeah. All right. Right now we're in a good spot. So that's game 1 down. So far so good. And that was a matchup I didn't think was going to go well for us. So let's play another game. Well, this is an interesting mix. Ezreal and LeBlanc. This might end up being some sort of cheeky aggro or who knows what. We'll keep the feast, throw the rest back. I think that last game is a good example of why I love Dreadway, because it's so threatening on its own, and why I was a bit nervous when they reduced the cost, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. The words double all damage, they're kind of terrifying. I'm not saying this deck is good, because I firmly am not convinced of that yet. And that's somebody who loves the archetype. But you know. All right, so we go with the Kalista. Could have like a million ways to nuke her, but I think this is still the route we want to go. They can't block us. So I think we do this. This is interesting. If they take the open attack, we're basically stuck taking the 5 unless we use a Vile Feast like right now. But I'm gonna say I don't think they're gonna take the open attack. We're gonna bank on no open attack. This is where they make me a liar, right? Oh, no, they go with the LeBlanc. Okay. All right, so we're gonna try to double feast this. Unless they run transfusion, I don't think there's a way to keep it alive. Okay, so they are looking to try beam us for 3. We don't have a way to keep ours alive, so we're just going to take this glimpse then. Okay, pickups. I don't know how I feel about them rolling that, because that's going to make this Trifarian a big boy. I think we are happy to just not take the 5 here. Kind of surprised they didn't swing with this, but I guess we'll take it. All right, a bit of an interesting position to be in. I would love to get Gangplank up and running here. Yeah, I think that's the play. Just because this can't block this round. Going with something like Kalista as the opener gives us a bit more flexibility. And I liked the idea of trying to ping this before they get any value out of it, but...
Victory requires a sharp blade.
My bones are splintered.
This is the only blocker they have right now, and I'd like to push some damage.
For glory.
So this is likely going to be targeting
Cut them up. You are mine.
Go, floating
Gangplank.
crystals.
Just wanted to block here anyway. I want to lock this in, but if it misses, we don't have another opportunity to take the ping. So I think instead what we want to do is something like this and then this. I think this ends up being the best way to refill our hand, dodge shenanigans. Okay, so they want a glimpse as well. Now, we could just dodge this. And what I mean by dodge it is I mean like make them not be able to draw as well. I think I want to try that. They traded a mimic for this glimpse, which tells me their hand might not be that great, and so I would like to take advantage of that if I can help it. Plus we end up with some Nightfall cards to work with. Now I was gonna play Kalista this round. Yeah, I actually think Kalista's still fine to develop here. Let's slow play this. I was gonna say Rekindler is a nice play. It gets us back Kalista, but if we start with Kalista, they've got this Guile that slows us down a little bit. Let's make them use the Guile. They're gonna just use Guile on Gangplank anyway.
I've had enough of you.
Let's go with the Stalker. Honestly, this should have been another Stalker. I think this was a misplay by me, sadly, but
Point, I shoot.
it is what it is at the moment. But a second Stalker means that only this could have blocked it, and then it would have been another ephemeral unit that would have died without sacrificing this. Could have replayed that later potentially, but
Delicate fob, simpleton.
so we get 2 units that die, and that means if we can just keep our Kalista alive, she'll level up.
Victory requires a
That's a
sharp
big
blade.
if with this coming down. This could be a nice pickup for us long term.
Face me.
All right, so we catch a little bit of a break that they threw this here.
Trying won't do any good.
The question is, do we, because again, there's a chance that this doesn't connect, right? So do we want to throw this glimpse on our gangplank because that guarantees our Kalista levels? Or do we just trust in the process? I think we're just gonna trust. Of course. Of course. So we lose the Kalista, but I guess it's not the end of the world. We're gonna only go to 11, but they'll be at 7. We'll still have Gangplank. And he'll be at 4 of 5. So he should level next round. And again, we can get a Kalista back off of Rekindler. Let's pass for now. So they have gems and 4 other cards. I keep waiting for like the bloody business to come down. Progress day. All right, that gives them a blocker for next round. Gives them a blocker for next round, so I respect it. Another Dreadway. I think this is for sure Rekindler round.
Candle for every soul.
Interesting. Wonder if that means they're trying to get this into Mystic Shot range. All right, I think we take the attack now. Because they still only have the 1 blocker. Yes, we expect them to have spells, but we want to threaten lethal here and force it. And because we have the Pale Cascade. Oh, so they got multiple flocks, huh? So we're gonna go this way. And that way. They had another Mimic. So they're gonna double flock the Gangplank to stay at 7. I respect it. Our biggest issue this next round is just surviving.
Places to go, people to be.
Withering Whale top deck helps. We're gonna load this up and go with the open attack. And so we're gonna go block, whale, drain. I wanted to get Dreadway down before the Vile Feast, but we're gonna go this route instead. So they're just hitting all their reputation refills. We're gonna go ahead and zap.
Everything's easier behind a mask.
Another gangplank. So we want to develop Dreadway. As it turns out, doubling damage is good, and then that sets up Ledros next round, and I don't believe this deck's gonna have a great way to stop it. I mean, they could have like a bloody business to nuke stuff, but that gets rid of both the blockers, so that's kind of nice. And because this is in response to them, that means that priority comes back to us, and we can go ahead and take this open attack. And that might be enough to get it done. So we wait with bated breath. Again, something like a bloody business bails them out, but we make it. So enjoying the list. Hopefully you are too. Deck code in the video description as always. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands.